Thank you, Amy. So, to double down, my name is Tristan. For those who don't know me, I am a trainee minister and I work around the Aidenside mission area that this church is a part of, as well as 4 other churches that you find close to the River Avon. So let's dive right in. So in this story we have 2 almost polar opposite characters. We have the Pharisee. And the Pharisee, he piously attends to his duties, he fasts twice a day, and he is a man who will give away 1/10 of his income. So on the surface, he seems like he is a well-to-do, good, decent man. On the other hand, we have the tax collector. The tax collector would have been seen as a traitor to his people. A traitor because the Roman Empire had imposed heavy taxation on the local people, and Rome were hiring locals for them to go door to door collecting taxes. So these tax collectors were taking money from the Jewish people and actually giving it to Rome. So on the surface, this Pharisee appears to be in high standing, whereas the tax collector, he appears to be the quite despicable character. Yet in the heart, it's almost the complete opposite. The Pharisee has pride in his heart, whereas the tax collector has humility. The Pharisee approaches God boastfully, and because of his boastfulness, as he enters the temple, he actually cannot receive the presence of God. He is unable to receive from above, as Amy showed with the illustration. The tax collector, however, he has humility in his heart. And despite standing far away, he has the frame of heart so that he can be open and he can welcome in God's presence and he can receive from above. And I know that it's well and good for me to break down this story, but I think what's more important is using this story as a mirror. I want this story to actually gaze back at us. Because this story doesn't just show 2 approaches to a prayer life, but they show 2 approaches to how we live our lives completely. Imagine in a classroom, this would be for any of the younger people today. If you enter into a classroom with a heart of humility, you will actually open yourself up to receiving wisdom and teaching from the teacher. But if you enter the classroom prideful, you will actually cut off that place where you can receive wisdom from. And the humble one will learn, and they will grow, and they will be lifted up. In a relationship, and this will apply to some of the older ones, if you approach your partner or your spouse in humility, you can listen, you can learn from your partner, you can admit wrongdoing, you can put the relationship before your own ego, before your own self-wants. But if you are prideful, you might be stubborn, unable to listen, unable to see, unable to admit wrongdoing. You may say it's my way or the highway. You may not be able to truly learn about your partner. And again, the humble will learn, will grow, and will be lifted up. So we are actually interacting with the danger of pride and the fruit of humility all the time, every day. So I think this parable is really important to know and to hold it closely, because if we crack this parable, if we get it, life will actually open up for us. For if we encounter the world in a sense of humility, we will begin to receive and be open to all of the wonders and all of the blessings the world has to offer. And as I was preparing for this sermon, I was thinking, what exactly is the Pharisee missing? He exclaims all these wonderful things he's doing, and he says, God, I thank you that I'm not like these other people, these thieves, rogues, adulterers, or even like this tax collector. I fast twice a week, I give 1/10 of all my income. But I think he's missing something. I think he could be missing gratitude, or forgiveness, or grace. Instead, he is far more worried about comparing himself to other people. And because he has not practiced gratitude or forgiveness, he has allowed pride to come into his heart. And that pride has severed the bridge to receiving grace from above. And this can be a warning not just to him, but a warning to us all. He might be very dutiful, but duty is not enough. Duty is important, but the attitude of the heart is more so. And our duty must always be clothed in love, in a godly love. And if priests, leaders, and all of us, if we act with a sense of pride or conceit, a sense of superiority, we actually become inaccessible to people in need around us. But if we come down to a state of lowliness, in humility, we become accessible to these people. And I remind you that this is what Christ did when he humbled himself down to human frame and came right down into a manger, so through his life he could encounter us all. In humility, not only can we open up to God, but others can also open up to us. We are all fallen, so why not just have fellowship together? Aim up together, for we are not so different. We can all gather in that one spirit that we're all under, that one Spirit of God. And if you ever look down on anyone, I want you to remember this line. This comes from a 4th century bishop called St. John of Chrysostom. He says, "If you do not see Christ in the homeless, you will not see him on the altar. If you do not see Christ in the homeless, you will not see him on the altar." And in this story, as we read it, let ourselves not look down on the Pharisee, lest we fall into the same trap. If we think, "Oh, that Pharisee is such a jerk, good job that we're not like him," if we entertain that, we actually fall into the same trap. We become the Pharisee of the story. We have allowed pride and conceit to enter into our hearts. Instead, we should pray for the Pharisee. We should love the Pharisee. Only that will transform him, just like only the love of God transforms us from our prideful and conceited ways. We can pray for our enemies. We can love our enemies. We can pray for the lowly. We can love the lowly. We can pray for the lost. And we can love the lost. Because as Jesus himself says, this is from the Gospel of John, "I give you a new commandment, that you love one another, just as I have loved you. You also should love one another. Just as I have loved you, you also should love one another." I'll pass back to Amy now, who will share a